The waiver wire is something you need to take advantage of every single week, regardless of if you're 2-0 or 0-2 or anywhere in between. There are a lot of ways that you can mess this up and do it wrong. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys a list of the truly valuable players to grab off the waivers season long. And as always, if you guys do get any kind of value from this video, make sure to be subscribed because these videos come out every single day. But you guys know I hate wasting your time in these videos. So we're going to start out with probably the talk of the week in Jerome Ford. Yes, you're taking a bit of a blind risk if you're picking up Jerome Ford this week, and Nick Chubb is out for the remainder of the season. Maybe the Browns sign a guy like Kareem Hunt back or JT, or maybe they just bring another running back into this offense. We don't know. But for the weeks that we do get Jerome Ford, he's going to be an amazing flex play or even just trade bait if you want to use him in that way. First of all, serious prayers up for Nick Chubb. This is the second knee injury he's had like this. It looked absolutely atrocious. I did not like seeing it. I know nobody else does. I feel like injuries are so much more common now, and I wish they weren't. But Jerome Ford did see 16 carries and 4 targets out of this backfield. Now, I'm not going to tell you how many yards he had on the week because that's not the important part of this statement. The important part is how much he was involved solely in this backfield. Yes, Pierce Strong did fall in for a touchdown on the goal line, but that doesn't really mean anything. He saw 2 carries on the day. Jerome Ford saw 16. Strong is going to continue to operate more on special teams. He's going to get a couple rushes here and there. That's just how it's going to work. The same way Jerome Ford was with Nick Chubb. Under no circumstances is he going to be a CMC level workhorse, but he's definitely a valuable guy to keep on our bench to see what's going to happen because he's one of those guys that if we have him, we're going to be glad we do if all things go right. He's a guy that I want to keep an eye on for the next couple weeks. He's only rostered in 17% of leagues. I assume that's going to go up to like 80 after this week. So definitely pick him up if you need another running back because there has been so many running back injuries. But another guy you need to be picking up off your waivers, and he really shouldn't be on your waivers, so I'm not going to talk about him for very long, is Sam LaPorta. I'll talk about him really quickly. He came out in this game against the Seahawks seeing 6 targets and 5 receptions, only behind Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs. He's the clear number 2 receiving option if we're not counting Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's obvious. And the amount of ground this guy's been able to cover over the past 2 weeks as a rookie tight end is absolutely amazing. You guys know I've been talking about him since training camp, but I would be lying if I told you he would be this involved this fast. And these aren't just random games. He's had consistent target volume over the past 2 weeks. He's seen 11 targets in 2 games. So if he can keep just what he's doing up now, he can be a consistent top 5 tight end in the league, getting 9 or 10 points a game, and he still hasn't gotten a touchdown yet. He's only rostered in about 65% of leagues, so if he is on your waivers, most definitely make him your first priority. He should go up to 90 after this week if you do need a tight end. Grab him now. But moving into a bit of the deeper waiver wire ads, we're going to be looking at Nico Collins. This dude has been cooking. He got his first touchdown of the year this week, but that's not the important part. The important part is that he's gotten 20 targets over the past 2 weeks. Last week, he came out with 7 receptions, almost 150 yards, and a touchdown. Came out and led the team in yards, but the real reason he's going to be one of the most consistent point scorers of the waiver wire video today is because CJ Stroud has continued to have an insanely high passing volume that's not going to go down. Stroud is averaging 45 pass attempts a game. And you might look at that and say, well, they played the Ravens and the Colts. Obviously, they're going to have to pass a lot to stay in these games. But the Texans are projected to have a losing record. The team itself isn't great fundamentally. They're going to be down in a lot of these games. And that is good for all of these pass catchers because they're going to have to keep this passing volume up all season long to stay competitive. It gives Nico Collins and all of these pass catchers that much higher of a floor and a ceiling every single week. So I really do like picking up Nico Collins. He's come out 2 weeks in a row and showed us he's efficient, he's safe, he's only rostered in 50% of leagues. And if he's on your waivers, you need to be taking advantage of it because the first couple weeks of the NFL season is when the real league winning players are being created. Grab him, keep him on your team, use him for trade bait if you want to, but he is a consistent guy in an offense that's going to have to pass a lot, and that's going to be their identity. CJ Stroud can do it. So speaking of that, if you guys don't want to miss any of these videos, just make sure to have your post notifications on because you want to be getting these waiver videos before the waiver wires finish on Wednesday or Tuesday. The next guy to go through and add off your waivers is Kyren Williams. If you haven't already, we had him in last week's video. It might be too late to get him now. Despite what people are saying, this is an amazing value on the waivers. Again, there's been so many injuries to the running back, so if you need to fill in that spot, Kyren is only rostered in 60% of leagues, so if he's out there, definitely get him. And I loved Kyren coming into this year. I thought he was going to own the receiving role because Cam Akers has never been a pass catcher, and Cam Akers is really not efficient So I thought maybe over the course of the season, he could cement his receiving role, maybe get something in the rushing game as well. Again, I'll be lying to you if I said it was going to happen this early. This dude is the clear workhorse running back. Cam Akers probably not even on the team anymore, gonna get cut or traded, and there's nobody behind him in this depth chart. Except if you want to count Ronnie Rivers, but you shouldn't. Kyren Williams is going to be great all season long. There was 80 potential snaps for the backfield this week. He saw 76 of them. He's on the field every single snap. I mean, it feels weird to say this, but can we call him a workhorse now? He's had 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks. He has elite goal line usage. Is that gonna come down? Most definitely. We have to be realistic here. But regardless of the touchdowns, he's seeing the volume that we need to pick him up and make him a season-long value. But you know what else? He had 10 targets last week. 10 targets, bro. That is more than your favorite wide receiver. That's more than Jamar Chase. He's averaging 15 carries a game with Cam Akers in week 1, and he just came off a game against the 49ers and had 50 yards and 10 targets. This dude, I mean, if you can do that against the 49ers defense, that should be a surefire sign. He's gone through enough hoops and hurdles to be a guy we can trust. I don't know how much more convincing we need. If you guys already have him on your roster and you watched last week's video, congratulations, you just found the league winner of the year. But if you don't, you still have time to go get him, but this is the last week you're going to be able to do it. Are his numbers going to come down? Yes, 10 targets and 2 touchdowns a game. Probably a little bit expanded. Matt Stafford threw for like 50 passing attempts last week. It's going to come down, but he's still going to be a top 20, top 25 running back every single week. And if you're getting him off waivers, that is an instant flex play. But keeping it on the running backs here, the next guy you need to be picking up off waivers is Zack Moss, and we talked about him again last week too. Guys, I'm telling you, please keep your post notifications on for these videos because we are smacking every single one of these breakouts before it happens. Zack Moss is only rostered in 50% of leagues, but I promise you, if you're playing in a softer league with your friends or family that don't know what they're doing, he's not going to be rostered in the league. But for the time being, he should not be on your waivers. He's the lead running back coming into this offense. Zack Moss played every single snap out of this backfield. And when I say he played every single snap, I don't just mean he was getting used a lot. I mean every single snap out of this backfield. Not one other running back touched the field. He's going to be a top 20 running back every single week while he's starting. Now, there are a lot of question marks about, is JT just going to come back to this team? Are they going to sign another guy? Are they going to keep him as their RB1 workhorse season long? Probably not. But if they don't sign anybody, you can believe he will be. So if you need a plug-in guy till week 5, go ahead and pick him up. Maybe he has some season long upside if he does continue to be the RB1. But he saw 18 carries out of this backfield with 4 receptions. Is the 4 receptions going to come down? Probably, because Anthony Richardson was missing some of this game. A lot of the time, rushing quarterbacks don't like to check down because they'll just run the ball themselves, and that's what we've seen this year with Anthony Richardson. But the volume is still there in the rushing game. He's efficient. He's averaging 5 yards per carry this season. He's done it all throughout last season, averaging 5 yards a carry and almost 80 yards a game. He's going to continue to do that this year. So that distorts the narrative of you just saying this was a fluke game, it's not going to continue. He's done it all year. So again, if you need a running back, go ahead and pick him up off your waivers. If you can't get Kyren Williams, but another guy you need to be picking up, another running back as well, is Roschon Johnson. He is only rostered in 33% of leagues, but again, if you're playing in a softer league, I promise you he's not rostered in that much. And I hate to keep beating the same drum on this, but we talked about him last week as well. Roschon Johnson came out in week 1 and saw a decent amount of work. We were saying D'Onta Foreman isn't being involved. Khalil Herbert's not really getting the goal line work. He's just getting the middle yards that he's splitting with Justin Fields. And that continues to hold true here. D'Onta Foreman continues to not be utilized. He was a healthy scratch this week, did not touch the field. Again, Khalil Herbert and Justin Fields are going to fight for those yards in between the end zones. Roschon Johnson is getting everything else in between. Last week, he came out and saw 40% of the snaps compared to Khalil Herbert's 60. And he might not have the best fantasy football numbers every week, but the opportunity is 1000% there. We have to remember, this is only his 2nd NFL game ever in his entire career, and he's already getting a 40% snap share, and this involved in the pass, goal line, and 3rd down rolls. I mean, he's almost splitting carries with Khalil Herbert, and it's only week 2. Again, he's owning the 2-minute drill snaps, he's owning the 3rd downs, he's owning the goal line work, he's owning the receiving work. On top of that, he's the clear best pass protector out of all of these running backs. There's no reason he shouldn't continue to see more field time. And he's also the most efficient running back on a per touch basis. He might not be the prettiest ad off the waivers this week, but again, we're talking about potential and volume here, and the path for that is 100% there. It's going to take some time, but he's not one of those guys that has a huge touchdown week that everyone's picking up. if everybody else is on top of it in waivers, Roschon Johnson is a good season-long bench stash. You also can't forget about the fact that the Bears have not looked good at all. They're probably going to be playing from behind in a lot of these games, which means more passing volume for Roschon Johnson. The next guy you need to be getting off of waivers, a guy that I'm going to talk about pretty quickly here. If you need a replacement tight end, Zach Ertz is going to be the guy, and I know that's a pretty ugly name we haven't heard or thought of in a while, but let me explain why he's a valuable tight end to stream off the waivers. He's a real option. He's continued to see consistent targets, 10 in week 1, 8 in week 2, and he is easily a startable guy at the tight end position. I'm surprised he's on the waivers, only rostered in 17% of leagues. But the good thing about Zach Ertz is that this target share is not hard to come by. The Cardinals are going to be down in every single one of their games. They have not looked great. They're going to have to stick to a pass-heavy script. And if you've watched any of these Cardinals games, you can tell Josh Dobbs cannot throw down the field. The coaching staff knows this. They're playing to his strength. They're keeping it in short passes. This offense is thriving off short passes and dump-offs, which Zach Ertz is getting 5-yard receptions every single time, 8 of them. So if you're in PPR leagues, he's a smash play. You should be starting him every single week. He had 6 receptions last week for 35 yards. Again, the yardage is not there, but simply the receptions alone is keeping him valuable. If your tight end got injured or you just need a backup just in case, he is a guy you can consider. And I quickly want to finish off this waiver video with some defenses you should be adding. The Jaguars is number 1. They're rostered in 15% of leagues. They get a great matchup this week. And when we look at fantasy football defenses, I'm going to drop you guys a little bit of a secret tip here. We want to find teams that are projected to blow out their opponents, not for the reason you might think. First and most obvious reason is that if the offense they're playing against isn't good, they're not going to be scoring a lot of points, which means more fantasy points for the defense. But the second reason that people don't usually put together is that if they're playing against bad offenses that are going to pass a lot to stay in these games, that creates a better environment for more mistakes, more interceptions, more fumbles, more sacks, for more dropbacks. And that's going to give us extra points every week, or at least more opportunity for that. And the Jaguars are projected to win by 9 points this week against their matchup. This is a great place to be starting them this week, but if you can't get them, the next defense you should be grabbing, if they are available, is the Patriots. They might not be. They're rostered in 60% of leagues, but this is the week you need to be targeting them. They're playing Zach Wilson and the Jets. Somehow Zach Wilson has gotten worse with better weapons, and we all know how bad he's looked so far. But if you can't get the Patriots defense, go ahead and grab the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, great matchup against the Bears, who have looked terrible. Justin Fields looks like a sack and interception machine right now, on top of the fact that the Chiefs get Chris Jones back. They're favored to win by 13 points. Believe that the Bears are going to be passing a lot. Justin Fields is going to make some mistakes. They're only rostered in 20% of leagues, so if you need a waiver defense, they are the guys to go with. That is going to finish off this video of the true league winning guys you need to be picking up off your waivers to give yourself an edge this week and every week coming in the future. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one coming soon.